Hello, how is everyone today? Welcome back to Living Life Unveiled. So today I have a lesson, a very small lesson. It's a lesson that me and my children learned yesterday as we were having our time for prayer and devotion. And so I did write down some notes so I can stay on topic. But just as you're listening to this lesson, hear whatever the Lord is saying to you personally, see where you fit in it, and see where you need to make changes and allow God to give you grace in those changes. So, this is a lesson from a spider. My boys and I prepared ourselves for reading and prayer. And when we walked into our office space, my oldest son saw a spider in the corner of the closet space. Now, it's not anything new to us to see a spider here and there, so I brushed it off and said, "It's over there, it won't bother us," and ignored it. I sat down, and my youngest son came in and took his seat, and I began to talk to them. Well, as I was speaking, I could observe the spider moving closer to the office entrance and crawl up the wall, one little creepy leg after another. I continued speaking with one eye on it. Then my oldest son noticed as the lesson went on that the spider had made it over our heads on the ceiling and had rested there. Now, I still didn't care too much because it was on the ceiling. But then I thought, now, if this spider had just so happened to climb down from his web over us, we would all be jumping and running because we don't like spiders. So I said, oh, man, I should have killed it while it was still in the corner. That way, it wouldn't have stopped our lesson and distracted us. So I got a shoe and swiped it down, almost pushing it into a place I wouldn't have seen it. With the kids' help, I saw it in between a seat and a box, and it was there playing dead, literally. It wasn't moving, even after I pushed a box away that was near it. I proceeded to step on it to make sure it was dead and then proceeded with the lesson. And so I thought this was funny because I said, wow, now I believe God will use anything. Okay. So in the middle of our lesson, we got a lesson from a spider that because we didn't deal with it, well, I'm gonna put it on myself. Because I didn't deal with it right away, it had now begun to move and shift and take our focus off of what we were there to do, which is to have devotional time with God. But again, God is so good and intentional that we still got a lesson anyway. Okay. So I was laughing. So earlier that day, I dealt with being irritated with a situation from the business and from work. And it kind of spilled over to when we were at home at the kitchen table. And I was like, oh God, when I caught it, because due to the irritation, I began to kind of shift in my flesh. And I'm talking junk, I'm saying things that I'm not supposed to say as a mom in front of my kids. I wasn't swearing, but I wasn't a good example. And I had to tell them, I said, you know what, boys, I'm sorry. I apologize because even when things are difficult, it's never, it should never be an opportunity for me to live or respond outside of the will of God when I have plenty of scriptures that tells me how to respond and deal with certain things. Even the wisdom that before I could respond, I need to check my heart. I need to check myself and get a grip on emotions so that when I respond, that I'm not responding spitefully, or in rage or in anger. And so, just think about that. Think about some things that you've allowed to fester or to go beyond, where it could have been stopped. You've kind of allowed it to go further than things needed to go, right? Like, when there is something coming in traffic, you'll begin to have a bird's eye view or a what's it called, to have foresight or hindsight on what's coming next. But instead of preparing prior, you allow yourself to get too close to the incident to where it's become road rage, or it's become, a distraction, or it's become something where you just were happy. Now it's got you all worked up. Now you all in your emotions, when we know as people who drive that people are out there that drive crazy. It is a given. God forbid that it be a day where you're busy and you need to be on your way, and then all of a sudden here comes some crazy drivers. But we know, as far as living in New York State or in the city that I live in, there are some crazy people and some crazy drivers out there, and it's innate. Like, we can't control that. And so because of that, we know that once we get out there on the roads of what we may or may not experience. And because of that, we have the ability to pray before going out for a covering, pray for wisdom, pray that the Lord will help us to see things the way he sees it, to have patience, all of the things that we know to do. Right. But again, sometimes you let things fester. You don't deal with those things right away. And then you come up to having a spider that you got to go, stretch your arm up so high and swipe it down. Make sure you get it before it tries to get away. And even when it tries to play dead, to recognize, like, if I didn't kill it, it ain't dead. Let that sink in. If I haven't killed it, it's not dead. So don't allow it to play tricks on your mind, whether it be fear, whether it be anger, whether it be offenses, whether it be unforgiveness, whether it be pride, whether it be disobedience, procrastination, rebellion, whatever it be, that you don't allow it to fester. And when you don't see it moving per se, or operating, not to think it's dead because it's playing dead or it's playing silent, but to actively go at it and kill it. Okay. The scripture that comes to mind comes from the book of Songs of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 15, and I'm reading for the Passion Translation. It says, "You must catch the troubling foxes, those sly little foxes that hinders our relationship, for they raid our budding vineyard of love to ruin what I've planted within you. Will you catch them and remove them for me? We will do it together." This scripture solidifies the thought of not allowing things to fester, because if God is planting in us the fruits of the Spirit, the little foxes are coming to eat of that fruit, to remove it, and it's coming to hinder our relationship with the Father. So rather than allowing it to fester, rather than overlooking it, rather than feeling like, I have tomorrow to deal with this, I can deal with this later, it's not a big deal. No, I think everything is to be taken as a big deal, especially if God shines the light on it. So just like my son pointed out, hey, mom, there's a spider in the corner. You deal with it right then and there. So then later on, you don't have to deal with it later. I pray this story blessed you. Continue to like and subscribe and follow for more.